Good morning, everyone. Forgive me for that false start. Good morning, everyone. I'm County Supervisor Joe Simitian, here representing the 5th Supervisorial District in Santa Clara County, and it is my pleasure to welcome you this morning. I represent the 5th District of Santa Clara County here on the Board of Supervisors, and that's the northwest portion of our county. Places like Palo Alto, Stanford, Los Altos Hills, Mountain View, Cupertino, Saratoga, Montessorino, Los Gatos, and portions of San Jose. All of those are within my district, and I have been serving here since 2013. Some of you I know from my prior tenure in the California State Legislature back in the day when I was in the California State Senate. So whether we are meeting for the first time or we have known one another over the years, I want to say thank you for joining us today, and I think you'll have a very good experience with a very helpful program. I want to just tell you how we got here today briefly before we get into the program. Some of you know I hold something called sidewalk office hours as a way to meet with my constituents, the folks I represent. We typically do them at farmers markets that are sort of easily accessible to folks, and people just walk right up and share their point of view, and all of that is to the good. And I started to hear more and more from people as I was serving here on the Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Simitian, I'm looking for work. I'm ready to go back to work. I've been out of the workforce for a little while, and I just feel like folks my age are struggling. And I heard it often enough that I was pretty clear in my own thinking that this was more than anecdotal. My office and I did some serious research, only to discover that it was indeed more than anecdotal, not just here in the Valley, but across the country. So whether these were folks who were sort of looking to shift careers or taking time off for family or may have suffered a layoff, I wanted to make sure that we here at the county did everything we could to help mature workers, those who are age 50 or more, have every opportunity to find their place in the workforce. And just to state the obvious, but it somehow goes unnoted, mature workers have all kinds of things to offer. It's skills, work experience, often a very impressive resume with a range of experiences in different work environments. And yet, too often, we know that stigma is there for older workers who are looking to find their place in the workforce. As I say, this is not just a Silicon Valley problem. On a national level, I know that we've got to tap into a graying workforce if we're going to deal with the work demands of the 21st century. Fortunately, after we did a little bit of homework, we discovered here at the county that there was a group called Peninsula Family Service, with whom I was already familiar in other arenas, and that they had a particular expertise in addressing some of these issues that we're facing mature workers. And recognizing their talents and our community's needs, we put together a partnership between our county and Peninsula Family Service, and about a half dozen years ago now launched a program with support from the county, the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program, which has been with us now for the last number of years. And during that time, I'm pleased to tell you they've been able to help hundreds and hundreds of folks at no cost, up their game. And that's the goal today, is to help you up your game through individual coaching, group workshops, peer support, all the kinds of things that they have found over the years can be helpful. I'm anticipating that today during the program, we'll have an opportunity to hear from someone who's actually been through that experience. I think that's an important way. And just want to assure you that their programs are professionally led, they're locally focused and targeted. Their second careers employment programs are particularly helpful in breaking down some of the barriers and really recognizing the talent and experience of mature workers and helping you communicate that talent and experience in your job search. So I'm also looking forward, frankly, to hearing a little bit about what we sometimes call the secret sauce at Peninsula Family Services in terms of how they deliver on your behalf. finally, I just want to observe, because it doesn't always get noted, that if ever there was a time to sort of welcome mature workers back into the workforce, it's now. Because of the pandemic, I suspect many of you know that a lot of our businesses are struggling to hire the employees that they need. So this is a good time for folks who want to be in the workforce, with vaccines and boosters now readily available, as well as workplace safety protocols. More and more remote work options, of course, are out there as well. It's a good job seekers market, and it's a great time for people to think about re-entering the workforce or shifting their workplace if they want to. So we've invited a panel of Silicon Valley labor market specialists to join us today to discuss how to overcome some of these potential challenges, stereotypes, how to help you upgrade your skills and build some confidence that you can thrive in this workforce. Before I hand it off to today's moderator, and that will be Susan Houston, who is the Vice President of Older Adult Services at Peninsula Family Services. I want to encourage you all to ask questions. The questions can be asked using the Q&A function on the bottom of your webinar screen. And please, one of the benefits of a webinar like this is it gives you the opportunity to make sure your questions get asked. And I always am asked, well, what happens if there isn't time for my question? And so I want to assure you that the panelists will try to answer all of the questions that they possibly can within the time that we have. But after the webinar, my office will compile the questions and create a sort of a Q&A resource guide, which we will share in a follow-up email for those of you who've registered. Also, the webinar is going to be recorded. A copy of it can be found on my website, the Joe Simitian website, supervisorsimitian.org, and on the Facebook page if you either want to review any of the material or share it with a friend. So with that, thank you for your patience. Again, I'm County Supervisor Joe Simitian. I'm delighted to welcome you today. And I want to introduce you to today's moderator, Susan Houston, the Vice President of Older Adult Services at Peninsula Family Services. She's a recognized leader in the field. So let me turn it over to you, Susan, and say thanks to you and Peninsula Family Services. Go to it. What have we got to share?
Thank you, Santa Clara County Supervisor Joe Simitian and your staff for hosting this webinar. On behalf of Peninsula Family Service and NOVAworks, we are thrilled to present our panel discussion titled Mature Workers, Vital to Today's Diverse Labor Force. I will now introduce our panelists. Let's start with Brenda Brown, has over 45 years of experience in managing and operating employment and training programs to a diverse ethnic and socioeconomic population in San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, San Benito, and Santa Cruz counties. A San Mateo native and a proud graduate of Texas Southern University with a BA in sociology, Brenda is currently the program director for the Second Careers Employment Program at Peninsula Family Service. She is also an alum of Leadership San Francisco and a board member of NOVAworks. Anne von Tonningen has extensive experience supporting job seekers with employment search and career transition issues. Her career spans work in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. She's a career advisor for the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program, a collaborative service of Peninsula Family Service and NOVAworks, funded by Santa Clara County. Anne holds a Master's of Arts degree in counseling psychology and has had previous work history as a licensed marriage and family therapist. Jen Cheyer has over 15 years of experience as a career development professional. She has a Master's of Arts degree in educational counseling with an emphasis on career development. Jen is a program manager at NOVAworks and the City of Sunnyvale, providing leadership to the workforce development community. Jen has presented seminars and webinars for the City of Sunnyvale, the U.S. Department of Labor, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and the California Career Development Association. Brenda, will you please introduce your program?
Thank you, Susan, and good morning, everyone. The Senior Community Service Employment Program is a federally funded program that provides paid internships and classroom training to unemployed, low-income older adults that are 55 years and older, with the objective to prepare them to re-enter the workforce so they're able to reach their career goals. How we do this is that we place our participants in nonprofit or public agencies. They're able to gain work experience 15 hours a week, making minimum wage.
Ann Van Tonningen, would you please introduce your program?
I'd be happy to, Susan. Funded by the County of Santa Clara, the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program is a collaborative service of Peninsula Family Service and NOVAworks. This program serves job seekers who are age 50 and over and reside in Santa Clara County. The program offers job search support that is customized to the needs of the mature worker. Services in the program include a one-on-one career advising, specialized workshops such as navigating the multi-generational workforce, as well as advisor-facilitated peer discussion groups on topics very relevant to mature workers, such as the topic overcoming age stereotypes in the job interview.
Great, thanks, Ann. Jen Cheyer, please introduce your program.
Sure, thank you, Susan. It is a pleasure to be here and to be included in this discussion today. I'm happy to provide some information about NOVAworks. We are a federally funded employment and training program with offices in Sunnyvale and San Mateo. Our goal is to help job seekers transition to new career opportunities and navigate the local job market. We help job seekers, including those who are re-entering the workforce after being laid off, or people returning to the workforce after taking a leave for family or personal reasons. And we also help those who are currently employed and are looking for better job opportunities. NOVAworks offers a wide variety of job search services, including career advising to help job seekers define their career focus. We write resumes, we help people prepare for interviews, and we also provide tools to help people retain employment. In addition to our advising services, we also have 20 different job search workshops, offer opportunities to network with peers and our alumni. We have connections with employers through our job board and active recruitment events. And for those who do qualify for funding, the opportunity to access training to enhance existing skills or even change careers. Right now, our services are available remotely through Zoom, over the phone, and we also have in-person services available.
Great, thank you. So as we developed questions for this webinar, we took some of the most common themes, inquiries, and focus areas of what we believe mature workers would be interested in hearing about today. Each of our panelists will have the opportunity to voice their answers. Please remember, as the supervisor said, that the questions can be asked by using the Q&A function on the bottom of your webinar screen. The questions, as he said, would be collected and monitored by our team, and we will address some of them at the end of the webinar. If we do not have time to answer all of the questions, we will send a follow-up email to address them and provide program resources to assist you. Now will we begin our panel discussion with our first question for the panelists. Are we ready? First question. How has the current labor market been impacted by the pandemic? And can you say more about what it means that mature workers are vital to today's workforce? Let's start with you, Jen.
Oh, sure thing. I guess I'd say that this is probably one of the most unique times in economic and workforce history. I mean, 2 years ago, a record number of people were forced out of the labor market. And over these last 2 years, millions have decided not to return to work, and millions more have just up and quit their jobs. And yet, as mentioned earlier, we have a really strong, robust hiring need. Across the US, there are more than 10 million job opportunities available. We continue to hear about a great resignation I tend to look at it more as a reshuffling, as people are taking time to re-examine their relationship to work and going after what is important and meaningful to them. So as people have left their jobs, there are major gaps to be filled. And this has become an employee market, which is a positive turn of events for job seekers. Employers are needing at this time to re-examine their hiring practices, the wages they are paying, and their active candidate pool. This hiring shift has opened new doors to overlooked and underrepresented populations like the mature worker.
Great news. Thank you, Jen. Brenda.
Yes, Susan. You know, I read an article that stated by choice or need, 85% of today's baby boomers plan to continue work until their 70s and 80s. That certainly applies to me. So what that means, shoot, I'm sorry. So with that in mind, mature workers have skills, experience, and work ethics that are strong of value. We are loyal to our employers, and we have a greater level of professionalism. Mature workers are more likely to be punctual and to be fully focused on their job, while being less open to distractions such as social media. Mature workers are dedicated to getting the job done by honoring commitment and respecting authority. As stated before, the pandemic has opened a variety of jobs that mature workers will be able to fill.
Thank you, Brenda. Anne.
You know, Susan, I think in addition to the pandemic's impact on the labor market, the focus on diversity and inclusion, particularly in the past 18 months, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement, has also brought more attention to ageism. And so as employers are recognizing the need to fill these many open roles, the value of mature workers' skills and experience is really becoming more fully recognized. And this is great news for mature workers. I'd like to comment that if you are attending this webinar today and you are concerned about potential age bias, please know that learning effective strategies to identify your skills and strengths, and then practicing the effective presentation of those skills and strengths can very often help to counter age bias. You know, Susan, I have had participants in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and yes, in their 80s land excellent jobs for their needs. And, you know, our programs truly are here to help you, truly.
It's great to hear that employers have so many open jobs and that it is an ideal labor market for mature workers. Why don't we dive more deeply into details regarding what is important in the job search? For example, I'm curious about what attributes employers look for in job candidates. So Brenda, since you noted some of the skills and qualities that mature workers offer to employers, let's begin with you with this question.
Sure. Employers are looking for mature workers who have the ability to use technology effectively and efficiently. They have to have, mature workers must have the ability to make decisions and solve problems, to be able to plan, organize, and prioritize their work. Mature workers usually have a lifetime of accumulated contacts that employers are interested in tapping. Employers are interested for mature workers to act as a mentor to their younger workers as well.
Thank you, Brenda. Anne.
Yes, Susan, I think, you know, a very important attribute employers look for today is what we would call a collaborative approach and attitude. So mature workers want to show authentic appreciation for each team member's unique contributions. Most mature workers began careers in a time when years of experience indicated what we would call earned seniority. However, in today's labor market, which is characterized by less hierarchy, employers are focused very often on the relevant skill sets that can be readily applied on the job rather than just years of experience. I think mature workers want to recognize this shift and therefore show an openness to working collaboratively across all 5 generations that make up the workforce. So I recommend avoiding an attitudes in interviews that somehow places you above others. Instead, you want to express enthusiasm for being a collaborative team member.
It's interesting that both Brenda and Ann have brought up that a positive attitude and enthusiasm are instrumental in making a good impression with potential employers.
And Susan, may I add one more important attribute for mature workers to keep in mind?
Sure.
I think it's a very important one, which is, demonstrating a commitment to continued learning and skill development. This will make a very strong impression. So keeping skill sets current is crucial.
Good point. Let's take a further look at this element Ann has just mentioned. What are key approaches or platforms for learning new skills or keeping current skill sets relevant? Jen, please share.
Sure thing. So Ann, thank you for touching on training, because there's an abundance of training options out there. However, before jumping into training, I just want to encourage anyone who is out there thinking about getting training to not jump in right away, but first take a few minutes, assess your skills, and also think about what employers are currently wanting. Knowing this ahead of time will ensure that you are focusing your time and energy on things that are going to increase your marketability. And then once you define what type of training you're looking for, there are so many platforms available. I'll touch on a few right now. So if you're looking for low cost or no cost online training options, you can access LinkedIn Learning, IBM Skills Build, Grow with Google, and even Coursera applications and classes. Some of these are available for free through your local library or workforce service provider like NOVAworks. You could also seek out training through local providers such as the adult education system, community colleges, or private schools. All of them refer and offer opportunities to update skills or even change careers. I think something as simple as searching on YouTube for videos that can teach you how to format a spreadsheet or learn a new programming language such as Python. Other ways to learn or gather training experience is volunteering. What a great way to build your skills, your confidence, and make new connections while giving back. And you can also seek out job training programs or on-the-job work experience like the Senior Community Services Employment Program, which are great ways to earn and learn at the same time. I also want to just wrap up talking about training by talking about skills are really important to build. As Ann mentioned, employers want to see that you are current and up to par, but also training really does increase confidence and self-esteem. I see this every day when we're sending our customers to training, that within just a few weeks of starting a program, they feel better about themselves, they talk with more confidence, and they really do believe that they have a lot more to offer, which makes them more desirable during the interview process.
Thank you, Jen. Those are very insightful approaches to keeping skills relevant. In our follow-up email, we will send some of these resources out to all of you who are listening today. Next question. What are the most important strategies for the mature worker in conducting a successful job search? Ann, let's start with you.
Sure, Susan. I think one key strategy for conducting a successful job search has to do with a very specific element of interview preparation. And that element is anticipating the concerns that employers might have based on potential age stereotypes. Then what you want to do is be prepared to highlight the strengths that counter these stereotypes. Susan, may I share an example to illustrate this?
Please.
Okay, great. So as an example, a negative age stereotype is that mature workers are stuck in their ways, meaning that they may not be open to changes in work processes or work methods. Therefore, in an interview, what you can do is proactively present strengths that counter this negative stereotype. So you might comment, let's say, on your flexibility, how you've readily adapted to changes in previous roles that you've had.
And your point about being proactive to counter potential age stereotypes is a great example of the importance of preparing ahead of time for interviews, as well as believing in your strengths as a job seeker.
Yes, Susan, and something else that helps with the element of believing in your abilities as a job seeker is an element I call vibrancy. It's important to be aware of our outward presentation that shows this quality, and to also focus on our inner vibrancy. Our internal attitude and self-esteem definitely impact the way we come across. So I like to say, don't just groom your appearance, but focus on being your own ally, giving yourself positive affirmations of your strengths and your talents. And then one other strategy I think that is also important for mature workers to keep in mind is to target a range of company sizes. Most job seekers are aware of the large prominent companies in the Valley. Yet you also want to look at small and medium-sized companies in your search. And the good news is that there are digital database resources that can be used to identify this range of local employers. An example is the A to Z database is what it's called, A to Z database, and it is accessible for free through public libraries. And either our programs or a public librarian can show you how to access these types of resources.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anne. Brenda?
Yes, first and foremost, keep your confidence high. Don't allow yourself to feel you're not going to get a job because of your age. Make sure you surround yourself with positive people. Take advantage of the career advising services like the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program that Anne manages. It is important to treat your job search just like a job and be dedicated with your job search. You may want to focus your job search on small companies, as Anne spoke about. But don't forget, there are nonprofits and public agencies that you could also look into. You might find that they tend to be less concerned with the age of their employees. If you don't have computer skills or need to upgrade those skills, take advantage of the tools that Jen spoke about. Don't give up. Right now, the unemployment rate in Santa Clara County is 3.2%. So that makes me believe that it's a job seekers market and that mature workers have more to offer than you think.
Wow, 3.2%. That's pretty low. Thanks, Brenda. Your ideas on alternative job searches are a great way to think of all of your community connections and to keep networking. Jen, would you like to add any strategies?
Sure. I think it's really important to point out that, as Brenda mentioned, unemployment is really low at 3.2%, but that doesn't mean that a job is just going to fall in your lap. You still need to go after it. You still need to do an active job search. And one of the key elements I think is really important to any job search is networking. It has always been and continues to be who you know and who knows what you know. So reaching out to people you have worked with in the past and meeting new people increases your chances of being noticed. I think that having someone at a company put in a good word for you will definitely put you ahead of your competition. And mature workers, you have a lifetime of connections. So don't forget to tap into them, reconnect with people you've known in the past. LinkedIn is a great avenue for connecting with former colleagues. And you can even search for new events through like Eventbrite as an avenue to find networking opportunities in your local area or online at this point. I also want to encourage people to think about how to age neutralize your marketing materials, such as your resume and your LinkedIn profile. I truly believe that an employer shouldn't know if you are 35, 45, or 75 just by looking at your marketing materials. Some key ways to age neutralize your resume include only covering the last 10 to 15 years of work experience, remove outdated skills, get rid of irrelevant work history, and really just take time to make sure you are marketing the skills and experience you want people to know about you.
Thank you, Jen. I love that term, age neutralize. It's great. So this concludes the panel discussion of our webinar today. And now I would like to introduce Tim, a participant who utilized these services and would like to share his experience on how it helped him to find employment. Our panelist, Anne, worked directly with Tim and will have a conversation with him. Anne, thank you for facilitating.
Absolutely, Susan. Hello, Tim.
Hi,
Tim.
I'm Tim,
Yes.
and I'm working at Cisco on enabling 5G for service providers in a cloud-based architecture.
Great. Well, we are so grateful that you're here with us today. And, Tim, before I have some questions I'd like to prompt you with. Before I start that, I want to mention it was just a pleasure to have the opportunity and the privilege to coach you during your job search process. And again, thank you for being here. Would you share a little bit about how long you've been in your role now?
Sure. Yeah, I've been in my current role for about 11 months.
Okay, great. And you are at Cisco, right? And
Yes.
wonderful, wonderful. Great. Well, thank you. And again, it was a pleasure supporting you in the process, getting to that new role. The first question I want to ask you, Tim, is if we kind of take a look back, though, before you secured your job at Cisco, can you share with our attendees today, what was it like for you to be in the situation of needing to job search?
Oh, yes. It's very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if I would get, initially, if I would get an interview, then I would get interviews, and then I would wonder if I would get to the final round of interviews, and then would I eventually get the job? And it was ups and downs. It was kind of like a roller coaster ride. And with COVID, even more stress. So music, exercise, and the outdoors were essential to reducing the stress during that process. Also, just walking around, being out in nature was essential for me, keeping a positive attitude and a mindset for the job search, so to speak. And I also did side projects to help keep me active, keep the programming going in my case, and connecting with fellow software engineers via LinkedIn.
Thank you, Tim. So it sounds like that, there was stress involved in that process of needing to look for work. It also sounds like you found some really effective ways to cope. And I noticed that you mentioned that a positive attitude was helpful, and also staying connected to others was important for you. And yes, thank you for sharing about that. So once you joined NOVAworks and the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program, what services did you find particularly helpful? In other words, what made a positive impact for you in your search process using these services?
Sure. Well, let's see. Top of mind, navigating the multi-generational workforce was essential for me because I'm a mature worker. So I started working a long time ago. So to sort of figure out how to analyze and tune your responses based on the generations was a great experience for me. I really enjoyed that course you gave, Ann. And the format of meeting with a peer group was essential. And a peer group, but also sometimes with people of different generations was great because that's what you do on the job, right? So it was sort of practice for being on the job. The most important thing for me in actually acquiring the job at the end was the individual coaching sessions when I got into the final round of interviews. Really helped with both NOVAworks and the Mature Workers job coaching program. Prepping myself, practice questions that you asked, and individual coaching sessions. And this was my final outcome, my job at Cisco.
Great, Tim. So it sounds like there was just a nice combination of both group-based services that provided connection and insights, along with the one-on-one career advising, such as helping you with preparing for those interviews. So group and one-on-one, both helpful. Yep,
Both were very helpful.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing about that. You've heard, some of the discussion here on the panel today about how important confidence is. Do you feel that you gain confidence as a job seeker participating in the program services?
Oh yes, it was great. As I mentioned before, the multi-generational way of looking at an interview process helped keep me up in a positive mindset because I felt like I had new tools to apply to that. I had learned something. I could apply them to the interview process. And also during the job search process, it helped with that too, and eventually in landing the job.
Great, thank you. So for our attendees today, what is one key strategy for a successful job search that you'd like to share?
Ooh, yeah, I'm going to expand that out a little bit and give you a couple. But top of mind is projecting that positive attitude. If you can't project that positive attitude in an interview, why would they want to hire you in the first place? So you got to keep that in mind. Focus on your soft skills too. I'm a technical person, but my soft skills really helped in that final set of interviews in landing the job. So not just your experience in your resume, but also your people skills, being able to field things and handle them right on the spot in an interview. Updating your LinkedIn profile was really important. And I really appreciated the comments that Jen said about, sort of age proofing your LinkedIn profile. And then in addition, you want to customize your resume for each job. So you don't want to just do the easy thing and hit the button and submit your LinkedIn profile when you're applying for a job on a website. You want to customize a resume. I would keep a set of them and then submit that. And what you want to do there is, of course, research what the job is, the company, how you solve their needs with your skills, and how they will need your strengths in doing this job. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, those are just terrific recommendations. I'm so glad that you didn't just share one, but shared multiple. You have just such great insight to share about it. Thank you, Tim. So just one more question for you, if I may. What is it like to be a vital part of the workforce at Cisco? What's that like for you?
Oh, I'm so happy and challenged at my new role at Cisco. My coworkers are great, and the ones that I work with, and I've been able to contribute from my wealth of experience and skill set almost immediately when I started the job. But at the same time, I'm learning new skills and new technologies. It's exciting new technology with process improvements in the area of the software lifecycle, and go Cisco.
Thank you again, Tim. One thing I keep hearing over and over today is positive attitude, really important. Tim, I believe your story will be very helpful to our attendees today. Thanks so much.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for sharing your expertise and information. The 3 programs can support and assist job seekers. Here's how you can get more information about the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program, Senior Community Service Employment Program, part of Second Careers, and NOVAworks. Now I believe we might have some questions from the audience.
Okay, my name is Theresa and I'm part of the Peninsula Family Service team. I have been monitoring some of the questions. Another reminder, we're not going to be able to answer every single question today, but we'll get through as many as we can. And again, we are sending a recording of this webinar and follow-up answers to questions that are not answered, plus resources. So let's get to the first question that I have, and this is for any of the panelists, any of the speakers. How do you determine if the next project is high pressure, and how do you avoid them? How do you choose more work-life balance jobs?
I'll jump in there, Theresa. Shall I go ahead?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So very interesting question. You know, it sounds like in this question that the attendee who submitted it is thinking about maybe looking at a role going forward that may have, you know, maybe less pressure than in the past. And I think that, you know, one of the best ways to really determine what it's going to be like in an organization is to try to connect and talk with people who either currently are part of the workforce at that company or have previously worked in that organization, and to, you know, ask some questions. You know, Tim shared, you know, how important it is to do research as you're preparing to have an interview with an organization. And part of our research can be learning more about the culture of the company from others. And, you know, Jen had talked about how important networking is. And so I think that as you network in your job search, one of the things that's so helpful about networking is it can also give you a chance to hopefully connect with people to give you insight on a company. And, you know, what are the pressures like in the culture of that organization?
You know what, I'm going to just jump in as well and just piggyback off something Ann just said, which is that when you're out there talking to people, you need to talk to more than just one person. Because companies can be big, right? You could have a 50,000 person company, and within a company, there's different departments, there's different groups, and everyone is working, doing different things and contributing differently to the organization's needs. So I just encourage you to, you know, jump around. Once you meet with one person, ask them, who else can I talk to? Try to bounce around and meet multiple people so that you can get a real big view of what the company looks like. I also think a great website online is Glassdoor. It's a place where people can post comments and talk about their relationship to companies. It's a great place to also kind of look around and see what people are saying. Remember, you're only getting one person's perspective maybe, and they may or may not have had a good experience with that company. But I think those are a couple of avenues just to expand that research and get a bigger picture of what's really going on in need.
You know, also, I would like to say that, you know, some people are looking at nonprofits. And if you are, and if you have the time, volunteering is an excellent way to find out if this is a fit for you.
Thank you. All really great points. Anyone else? Last chance. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. This one is, how do veteran executives convince companies that we are more than willing to take on roles that may not be as high level as our previous positions indicate?
I'll go ahead and jump in there. I'm thinking that this question is around the idea of perhaps, you know, feeling that you might be overqualified for a position. In other words, that you're willing to take a position that's not as high level as you had before, but you're open to doing that. Sometimes I think that when mature workers are in interviews, that sometimes they will get the comment that they seem overqualified for the position. So what I would recommend is that as you are preparing for an interview that, let's say, is a role that is less responsibility perhaps than you've had before, that you really identify how this particular role fits for you right now in your career path at this moment. So you want to show enthusiasm for the position, for the skills that it uses. You know, I've had a mature workers, you know, let me know that they are actually asked in an interview, do you think you're overqualified for this position? And I think the kind of response you want to give is, you know, something to the effect of, I see that this role uses the skills that I'm very focused on right now in my career. I'm very excited about it and looking forward to contributing in this way. So, you know, to practice that you are a good fit, even if you have, you know, higher level experiences in the past.
Can I add something to that one?
Yes, please.
Yeah, one thing that helped me is that comment earlier on about flexibility. So by flipping that question around, the fact that you're flexible and you can be excited about this particular task and apply the skills that you have mean that that you might even give more for that job, but at the same time, you're going to focus on that job. So focus and flexibility. That's my comment, basically.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, I will move on to our next question. The next question is, what examples are there showing that those job seekers that are ages 50 plus are having success securing new opportunities? Tim.
I'm a data point.
Right, yeah. So data points, piggybacking off what Tim said. So in the mature worker job coaching program, which we are in our 6th year now, there have been approximately 350 job seekers over age 50 who have secured employment, and in a range of jobs, different industries. And so we have seen a lot of success.
And I'll just echo that with NOVAworks. I mean, our customers are enrolled with Ann's program for the mature worker job coaching program, but many of our customers don't attend that session just for their time or necessity. But we're seeing every day people going back to work, and at big high-tech companies, we've got 60 plus, 60-year-olds plus going back to Meta, Facebook, getting jobs at Apple, Cisco, And also small companies, small startups or just small local mom and pop stores who are looking to hire or people to do back office work like accounting. So, I mean, I think the jobs are abundant. And that, again, I will just go back to when I see people applying themselves and actively engage in a job search, they're getting hits right now. Again, if you're waiting for that job to fall in your lap, it's not going to happen. You got to put yourself out there, as Tim can attest to, and that, things are going to happen and things are going to move for you.
I'll chime in on one other point. I know that as attendees, you've heard this brought up today, multiple times, but I truly believe that confidence is so important, so I think that what I would recommend as much as possible is, as you are identifying your strengths and skills and what you have to offer, as that becomes more enriched, in yourself, what I notice is that mature workers actually kind of stop thinking about the age issue as much. So you're focused more on what you have to offer in a very positive way. And that can actually, kind of mute the concern around age. And I think that, NOVAworks, the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program, Senior Community Services Employment Program. I think that all of these really can help you, not be so isolated in your job search and to build your confidence. So important.
I can give a great example, and I can use myself. I was laid off of my career job of 35 years. And when our office closed, I never thought about age. I was 63. And I never even imagined that I wasn't going to find work. And my very first interview, I knew I was qualified for it. I was in that interview for over an hour and a half. Came out feeling great. I didn't even get a second interview. But I still didn't think it was age. I couldn't put my finger on it. I said, well, maybe it's the way I interviewed. So I went in a slight depressor, and then I had to pull myself out of that. So it's really important that you don't allow yourself to get at a point that you don't feel like you're going to find work. At that particular point, I started targeting and looking and researching jobs that I was really interested in. And I knew that these were jobs that really were not looking at the ageism. And all of a sudden, Peninsula Family Service came up. And I applied for that job. I was then just a manager of the Senior Community Service Employee Program. I was hired. Within 5 years, the program grew. So going in as a vice president, I went in as a manager, but I had an opportunity because that program grew into a directorship. And I've been on this program for 14 years. And what really sold me was that I no longer had to commute to San Francisco. I was local. I was doing work that I really enjoyed. And it made a whole difference in my attitude and being positive and well. Sometimes you have to look at those situations as well.
Thank you, Brenda. That was a really great response. Okay, so here's the next question. This is a question about fit and culture and being stereotyped. So there's a person that has been a successful programmer in the past, but in interviews gets to a barrier where fit and culture is addressed, and it has become a bigger issue, barrier for this person. So how can a mature worker convince an employer that you can not only do the job, but provide a diverse and helpful perspective for the work done?
So I'll jump in. So first thing I'll kind of address is something Anne talked about earlier, which is getting to know the companies. I always tell people, you want to work at a place where you're going to be appreciated and you're going to be valued. If you try to go in and be a bulldog and change who they are and how they work, it's going to be a hard battle to fight. And it's not going to feel comfortable, and it's going to be like banging heads constantly. So, I always say that when the job wasn't a good fit, it's kind of a blessing that it didn't work out, because you probably would be out of there pretty quickly. But I just encourage everyone to keep talking to different companies until you can find the right team. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier, big companies have lots of different teams. You may not be a fit for team A, but it doesn't mean team C over here might not be exactly the right fit for you and how they do work, the pressure, the load. So it's about getting out there and talking to different people, and keeping just as current as you can on your skills, making sure that you are prepared for every technical interview you go into. Doing problem and code sets ahead of time is so important, that you are whiteboarding on your own, using tools like LeetCode to see CS problems that you can be practicing on your own, so that you can talk the language and be really comfortable. You can't rely on the past. You can't say, oh, I did that, don't worry. Companies want to actually see proof in real time. So those are a couple of points I'll bring up.
I just want to jump in and verify with Jen. Jen, at NOVAworks, I do believe there is a technical whiteboarding group session that a participant could get some of that whiteboarding experience. Is that correct?
That's totally correct. Thanks for bringing that up, Anne. Yeah, we actually, one of our workshops is an avenue where people can come in. We use LeetCode problems, and we post them. We say, this week, we're going to be talking about this problem. You come in, you break into small groups on Zoom. You have got whiteboarding capabilities. And in teams of 3 or 4, you're kind of talking through and practicing how you would respond. So thinking about writing the pseudocode, what's going through your head, how do you solve the problem? And then getting down into picking a language, whether you want to code in Python or Java or C++, and then working through the code together as a team. And then you kind of get practice of having those eyeballs on you while you're talking through the problem. And then hopefully people go home and continue to work throughout the week on those skills.
So for our attendees, hopefully this explanation will help. The Mature Worker Job Coaching Program, as you've heard, is a collaborative service of Peninsula Family Service and NOVAworks, funded by the County of Santa Clara. And so one of the things that I think works so well for anyone who's interested in maybe looking into the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program is actually where you first start is by registering for NOVAworks and becoming a member of NOVAworks. And then you would, have the opportunity to explore the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program. What's so nice about that, though, is that, and I think, Jen, in your introduction, if I'm remembering the number right, I think you said there's about 20 workshops at NOVAworks. Is that right? About 20 or so?
About 24, actually, but we'll
about 24. Wow. Okay. So this technical whiteboarding Jen just talked about is one example. So what would happen, in terms of participation in the Mature Worker Job Coaching Program is that you have both these wonderful NOVAworks services along with the customized Mature Worker Job Coaching Program services. So just want to highlight that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Anne and Jen. So it's 11:30, and if the panelists are okay with it, I'll ask a couple more questions before we stop. So the next question is, what recommendations do you have for mature workers with disabilities attempting to navigate both ageism and ableism?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think that's a great question. And, as I had mentioned during the panel discussion, I think that there's so much focus today around diversity and inclusion. So I'm glad to hear that question. One resource that I want to put out there is called the Job Accommodation Network. And it's, we refer to it as JAN, J-A-N, Job Accommodation Network. And that is a resource, a website that has lots of wonderful information about a job search. If there is a disability that you are also navigating with your job search. So I want to put that resource out. And I think that can be additionally helpful.
So the Senior Community Service Employment Program, I think, is an excellent program for individuals with disabilities. In order to be low income for the program, it's a very low income criteria. But for people who are on disability, we don't count your income. So it's an excellent way to come into the program and to gain some work experience and get paid. And if you even needed to upgrade your skill level for computers or whatever, we certainly can accommodate that. So I would advise individuals, if you're interested in the CSEP, the Senior Community Service Employment Program, I encourage you to contact me because we would be glad and happy to work with you.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay, a couple more questions. How long do program participants typically spend in the program? So NOVAworks, mature workers, or second careers before finding a job. On average, how much time is spent in your programs, and how many people seek out jobs versus finding them?
Sure, I can jump in. So one thing that we find is that people don't come to us right away. So people typically are out of work for a good 6 to 8 months before they ever knock on our door. And a lot of that is either people have just taken a break and said, give me some time off, or people went after it on their own and didn't find success in how they were marketing and promoting themselves or doing their job search. So people already coming in typically have a pretty extensive gap. And then once in the program, again, we're looking at an average of 6 to 9 months for a typical job search right now. And that's an engaged and effective job search. So if what you've been doing hadn't been working, you're kind of looking at from that point of coming through the front door, maybe 6 to 9 months. But that's an average because we see people who right now are getting jobs within 3 weeks of joining the program because hiring is really hot. We have people who are going through classroom training, so they're not really looking for work. So that may add on an additional 9 to 12 months of time to their job search. But yeah, I would say every job is unique. Every person is different. But right now we are seeing that those people, again, who are putting themselves out there are getting calls and getting interviews. I would say typically within 4 to 5 months.
For the Senior Community Service Employment Program, it's a little different. Individuals can actually stay on the program for 4 years. I really don't like to advertise that because I don't like people to get comfortable in just because with the CSEP program, our participants love what they're doing. They're at community agencies, they're at public agencies, they feel they're giving to the community, it's making them feel good about themselves. And so technically they would just love to be able to move out of our program and work at the community service agency they're working. But we all know that money is really very short with the nonprofits. So it all depends on the individual. It's got to be the individual who makes a decision to go out and look for work. We surround them with all the resources. We are working primarily with confidence level with the CSEP program. So, like I said, people will come and say, what kind of job are you going to find me? We don't find you jobs. We provide you with the resources so that you can find your own job. So it's all individualized with the CSEPs, the Senior Community Service Employment Program. So we have some people who are so motivated, they'll find a job right away. And there's some people who, because they've been out the market for a long time, there are a lot of barriers. They're nervous because they think they're going to lose their housing. Because the one thing with the Senior Community Service Employment Program, individuals on food stamps and housing, the monies that they make on this program is not counted. So there's a fear that they're going to lose their housing or their food stamps, and that's not the case. And it's up to we as staff to convince people that, you know, that's not a reason for you not to go find work. So again, I can't really say how long it takes. It just depends on the individual.
I would echo the comment both Brenda and Jen made about that it's really unique to each person. So I'm going to answer the question in this way, which is as much as you can as a job seeker, try not to, if you can, compare yourself to others, you know. So what's so important, I think, is doing one-on-one career advising, because what you can do, you know, with a NOVAworks advisor or mature worker job coaching program advisor, is to talk about what is your timeline. You know, when do you feel you really need that next role? Because then what happens is we can help you kind of design what are the different roles that you would be open to taking, right? So if you have a longer time frame that you feel you have before you have to land the next job, then you know you can do more exploration. But let's say that financially you need to land that next job right away, then we can kind of help you in looking for those, you know, opportunities that might be able to be landed more quickly. So I think you know, if you are kind of thinking about how long is it going to take me, you know, talk with a career advisor about that, help set up the strategy with them that will best serve what your needs are.
And then can I throw in one thing? In my particular case, it took months, many months. But during those months, I was improving my skills. I updated my LinkedIn. I had a setup at home. I had an old laptop that I put Linux on. I had a Java build system that would farm builds out to it. I would do my practice programs. In other words, I was keeping the oar in the water. I was keeping my focus on the job skills that I would most like to apply at my next job. And that worked out in my case. But the main thing I wanted to say is never, never, never give up. Mm-hmm. You have no idea how many times I was told no, but eventually I got the yes. So just don't give up.
And I'll jump in off of that, Tim, because, you know, we definitely understand that the job search is full of rejection. At NOVAworks, we've developed a workshop called Positivity, which really looks at how to take the negative that you're facing and, you know, really reframe things and keep your eye on the ball and the eye on the prize, so to speak, at the end. But acknowledging that throughout the process, there's ups and downs, and it is a really hard process, but that you can get through it.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm about to ask the last question to the panel. There were many questions. We got through as many as we could. Again, we will send a follow-up email with answers to more of the questions and more resources. I want to thank everyone for attending today. And the panelists especially, thank you so much. This is such great information. And then I have one last question and we'll close out. So the question for all three programs here, how do you reach out to the underserved and particularly the newly arrived in this country?
So I'll jump in. We have loads of partnerships. We have a stakeholders group, and we have organizations throughout both San Mateo and Santa Clara County who are partners with us, organizations who work with newly arrived. They know we're available, and they know we are, here to serve when the person is job ready. And I think that's kind of the key, is that newly arrived, we want to make sure that they have their foundational structure in place. I understand that employment is key, having an income, but having housing taken care of, basic needs and necessities, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those things are really kind of met so that people can effectively engage in a job search. So I think it's really about reach, and that we do partner with all different organizations, and we have quarterly meetings with our partners to let them know what we're doing, who we're serving, how we're working together to get the word out.
For the Senior Community Service Employment Program, we have host agencies. Those are who take on our participants. And so they'll get the word out. Word of mouth has been big for us. We don't use the social media as much as some of the other programs. So what we'll do before the pandemic, it's been a little more tougher now during the pandemic, but we'll go out to the local churches and leave flyers. We'll have speakers go out. We leave flyers at a lot of the housing, public housing places. We work with our aging offices. We work with the Department of Human Services, with the public health. We work with our employers. So we will primarily use our flyers, and we'll go out ourselves. And it's very important to us that we try to bring in a diverse population. So I try to bring in staff that reflects the community, so that the resources they have are benefit to the program, where they'll go out and reach out to those areas that we feel is underserved.
Great, and then I'll jump in as the last person on the panel here. Again, as I had mentioned, the mature worker job coaching program, which it collaborates with NOVAworks in the same way that Jen mentioned the partnerships that NOVAworks has with organizations for helping job seekers, maybe it will be your first work assignment in the United States. You've just come to California, to the Bay Area. And so in the mature worker job coaching program, we also would connect you up with partner organizations that specialize also in helping that type of job seeker. And I also just want to, if this helps the attendee who put in that question, I do want to let you know that actually it's not uncommon at all in the clients, the participants I see in mature worker job coaching program, to have people who are just developing their first US work history. That is not uncommon. And so you will hopefully meet some other people remotely through groups who you can hopefully build some camaraderie with and support as well.
Thank you. So I'm going to put up the slide with the contact information again for both Peninsula Family Service and NOVAworks. We want to thank District Supervisor Joe Simitian's office and Mr. Simitian himself for this webinar today. Thank you all panelists. Thank you, Susan, Ann, Jen, Brenda, and thank you, Tim. Thank you, everyone. And let me share this last slide. There we go. Okay, thank you, everyone. That concludes our session today.